Be it regular theaters, 3D, or IMAX, declining ticket sales have made a Hunger Games-like competition for the movie theater industry, and the odds appear to be in IMAX's favor. Analysts are projecting the company's ticket sales to finish up 70% compared to last year. I've got IMAX CEO Richard Gelfond with us, and also we have Bloomberg contributing editor and our retail expert, branding expert really, Jay Margolis, who's led brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Reebok, Esprit, Liz Claiborne, among others. Both Jay and Richard are going to be with me on a panel later today when we're going to be talking about branding in Asia, and that's where I want to go a bit later in this interview. But first, Richard, give me the sort of the impact that Hunger Games, that weekend box office smash, and what it's had the impact on your theaters.
Well, the IMAX theaters were largely sellouts. For us, though, one film in one weekend does not make a year, and that's one thing you really have to be clear with investors and analysts. I mean, Hunger Games was fantastic. It was the third highest opening of all time, the biggest March opening, did wonderful things for the industry. But for IMAX in particular, we're growing at a 30% compound growth rate around the world in terms of number of screens over the last several years and looking forward for the next couple of years.
Okay.
Movies go up, movies go down, the network builds. So I look at our company as growing like this and movies being a fair amount of noise. Now, the good news is for us this year, the noise has been good noise rather than bad noise, and Hunger Games was very good noise. But you have to look at the whole year, which is exciting. As you mentioned, coming in, Titanic is coming out, Wrath of the Titans this weekend.
But you
Spider-Man.
actually didn't do too bad with a John Carter either, right? Even though it really was a failure at the box office.
Well, John Carter, we did about 17% of the domestic box office on only about 250 screens opening weekend. So that was pretty good. I mean, I think Disney and we had higher expectations going in. A core part of our audience is fanboys, so John Carter is one of those testosterone-filled movies, that on the IMAX screen with the resolution and the experience, people really want to come. So it ended up okay, but I think both we and Disney would have rather it did better.
Did you see the Hunger Games, Jay, at all?
I didn't yet, but
okay.
John Carter I did see.
Well, what did you make of the branding and the marketing of that film, of Hunger Games?
I think IMAX did an amazing job of bigger. And if you think about the fact that I can go online and rent things easily, I have to go to your theaters. I have to get that experience. And it's interesting to me, before we were talking about China and 225 IMAXs in China already, it's just how that happened and how you grew that has to be an amazing story.
Well, is that growth in China and Asia, for instance, is that faster than what you're seeing domestically in the U.S.?
Yes, it is, and for two reasons. One, the U.S., we've been around longer. The company's about 45 years old, so obviously we're more highly penetrated. But what's happening in China in particular is you have the rising middle class, you have disposable incomes going up, you have more of a need for entertainment, and you have this massive infrastructure build out in both screens and production in the country. In certain respects, the IMAX brand is more meaningful in China than it is in North America or almost anywhere in the world.
Why?
And I think because people grew up with it. Whereas here, remember, IMAX started in museums and science centers, and you had to change their habits. We became sort of the first-class experience in China. So I think the equivalent of the water cooler in China, when you saw Avatar, you said, where'd you see it? And if someone said, well, I saw it in IMAX, I go, oh, you didn't see it in IMAX? You have to go. So that's kind of what's happened on a global
So you were
trend.
actually able to start your brand in a way anew in a place like Asia, where the market was much newer for you, obviously, then.
And the market was emerging at that time.
And that consumer has more time and has a little more disposable income and is traveling the rest of the world and getting that IMAX experience in other places, and I'm guessing bringing it back home and talking about it.
And has one child, Jay, so it's easier to spend, the price premium on the one child.
Describe to me the consumer. I mean, mostly in China, but describe to me who's the consumer that goes into an IMAX theater.
The consumer is pretty much the same around the world, and we could talk a little about China, but it's more like what I'd call sort of the fanboy, fangirl, like probably 18, 16 maybe on the young side, 40 on the older side. The new kind of movies are being filmed different. I mean, of course, there's The Artist, which won the Academy Award, and you could see that on a small screen or you could see it on a big screen, and it's a compelling experience because of the way it's told. But the kinds of movies that really appeal to our audiences are ones where the scope, the sound, the resolution, the color really make it special. And that's why Avatar was such a big success. That's why the re-release of Titanic soon will be very exciting. You know, Spider-Man, we're doing The Hobbit, The Dark Knight Rises. Over half of that was shot with IMAX cameras, so our aspect ratio will be in it. So those are the kind of movies that really get, you know, people's juices flowing.
How important are local films in what you do? Is there a percentage of that to your business?
That's a great question, Jay, and the answer is increasingly so. So in China, we've done 3 Chinese movies in IMAX, and we've got a number more scheduled for this year. On one of them, called Flying Swords, we did about $11.5 million just in about 50 IMAX theaters, which probably would have made the top 15 in China alone, you know, without the rest of the release. It was about 12.5% of the box office. We're doing a film in Russia, a Russian-made film called Stalingrad. We're starting to look in Bollywood to do Indian films. So increasingly, I think people like Hollywood, but they also want to see their local films in IMAX.
In India, though, you've had some struggles there. I mean, why has it been a slow start in India for you, whereas China's been, you know, this great growth story for you?
Yeah, part of it is India's been slow to the whole multiplex boom. So although there's a lot of cinema in India, it's local cinema, and 85% of the attendance is Bollywood attendance, not Hollywood attendance. Also, a typical multiplex in India is a 4-plex, not a 15-plex like is being built in China. That's starting to change now. They're getting more bigger multiplexes. As I mentioned, we're going to start doing Bollywood films in IMAX, which I think will appeal to the local population. And you also have to look at ticket price. In India, the ticket price is much lower than in China or almost anywhere else in the world. And IMAX is a premium experience, and you need enough people willing to pay that.
And that was going to be my question. A price threshold? Is there country by country? Do you price differently? Is there a threshold that the consumer won't go to? IMAX has always been kind of the high end of the market.
In the world, it's usually a 30–35% premium. Interestingly, in China and Russia, our average ticket price is higher than it is in the United States. But in India, a typical ticket is like $2.50 equivalent in rupee. So in IMAX, it's like maybe $4.50, and it's harder to make the economics work that way.
Okay, Richard, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining me. I'll see you a bit later at this panel, the IMAX CEO, and also I'm going to see Jay as well a bit later.